Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Carla Sanders, the Cosmic Crone, and I'm coming to you today on March 1st, 2023. And we are anticipating the shift of Saturn into Pisces 1 week from yesterday. Saturn right now is in the last degree of Aquarius, and he's accumulated all that Aquarian energy, and you might be able to feel that compression as he gets ready to leap. This leap that does not even exist, this leap into Pisces. And I would like to speak with you for a little while about who is Saturn in Pisces. So let's talk about the basic facts, get ourselves oriented. Saturn will enter Pisces next Tuesday morning, March 7th at 8:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in Maine, where I live. And that happens to be a mere 55 minutes after the full moon in Virgo. And it also happens to be on my birthday, which is good for you, and I'll tell you about that at the end. That's why I'm taking it personally. And while I spent a lot of time meditating on and doing some research on who is Pisces in Saturn. Saturn in Pisces. Let's talk a moment about the qualities of Pisces. It's the 12th sign of the zodiac. Which means it is the 12th house. If each sign has a house position, Pisces is the house of the unconscious, of the altered state or transcendental consciousness, the dream, the imagination, the deep spiritual knowing, the connection to all that is. Pisces, I always describe as oceanic galactic. It goes as deep as you can go, and there it meets the other side. It goes as high and as far out as you can go. That's Pisces energy. And everybody has Pisces in their chart. You may have significant planets, sun, moon, rising, or any of the planets, or it may be in an empty house for you. Either way, Saturn is going through it now, and it would do you a lot of good over the next 2.5 to 3 years. Basically, Saturn will be in Pisces for 3 years because it dips into Aries and then comes back into Pisces on a retrograde. So Pisces, mystical, visionary, and full of imagination, creativity, dreams, and people on the outside looking in, or sometimes on the inside looking out, can see a disorganized person living in a fantasy world, delusional or impractical. I like to say that Earth, Wind, and Fire song, Fantasy, is the Pisces anthem. Every time I hear that, I just say, yes, that's me. So before you judge Pisces, just know this. Pisces lives in reality, but it is the deepest cellular, internal, spiritual reality. It's a different reality, and it's a necessary reality. Pisces people navigate that vastness, the vast self, with an ease that other people in the zodiac might find a bit challenging. So Saturn through Pisces is a support to all of us to be able to make use of this transcendental, altered consciousness kind of energy because we really need it right now in a big, big way. So you might think that Saturn in Pisces would be incredibly uncomfortable. And a lot of the people that I listened to or read took that position that this is an irritable, uncomfortable connection. Pisces is traditionally known as the taskmaster, the keeper of law, the one who sets up structures and rules, who's a disciplinarian. He applies pressure. He stands for the corporation, the structure, the hierarchy in business and economics and government and religion. And most of us we don't enjoy Pisces. There's a stern father figure associated there. And that's actually a patriarchal vision of Saturn. And I like to step back. You know, I do dark goddess astrology and divine feminine astrology. So I try to, my intention is always to reach back to the essence. Astrology and Saturn are older than the patriarchy. So how can we translate these qualities of Saturn in a way that is truly of service? Because I approach astrology from the perspective that all of the planets are ancestors, and they are all here to serve us. So how does Saturn serve in Pisces? I'm going to run down a few of the words: art, ritual, initiation, womb, magic, creation, study and teaching, Saturn does all of this, and in Pisces, this is what it looks like. Art, all art, visual art, sculpture, music, song, poetry, novels, gardens, cooking, ceremony, craft of every kind requires form, and it often requires technique. So there may be systems and forms which give beauty and allow for craftsmanship and quality to manifest. Saturn is an important guide and element of being creative. And in Pisces, all Pisceans know how to use Saturn for that creative energy. Ritual. All ritual takes place in a sacred container, a sacred wheel. Saturn creates the boundaries. Inside these boundaries is sacred space. Outside of these boundaries, anything goes. So when we call in directions, when we call in elements, when we call in deities and guides, we are invoking the energy of Saturn to create a space in which magic, transformation, and healing can happen. So Saturn serves us by holding the ritual. And there are many ways. You know, you can say, who is the Saturn role here? There are forms, there are rules, there are protocols of respect, of magic. You need to do certain things with these elements in this order in order for the thing to work. And in order to be respectful, in order to protect the people who are inside making the magic, receiving the healing. So Saturn in Pisces shows that side of himself. That becomes much more important in Pisces because that's his role. Womb. The womb contains the growing child, the growing litter of puppies or piglets or foxes. It contains the ideas, the germs of creation, the artwork that is simmering, the ritual that you're preparing for, the soup that you're serving tonight for supper. So Saturn has, actually the womb has two energies. It has Jupiter. It's interesting that these are masculine energies, but it has the expanding energy, because as the thing grows inside until it's time for it to be born and come into the world and take its first breath, Saturn is containing and Jupiter is helping it grow and expand. And also Black Moon Lilith, who is creating this energy of the figure 8 of infinity, swooping up into the void and bringing that material down through the womb and out into form in our world as we live it. So Saturn has womb energy. Saturn is the green man who patrols the precinct of the ritual or ceremony and keeps in that which needs to stay in, whether it be people or entities or energies, and keeps out that which does not belong, whether it's a person wandering through the woods who happens upon the energy, the ceremony by mistake, or whether it's a disruptor. So Saturn will do that for us here in Pisces. Saturn is the keeper of standards and boundaries. And this, there's interpersonal ones, there are ritual and magical ones. Saturn helps us be able to rest in our power, to activate our desires, to, I could say be safe. I think in many ways safety is overrated, because our critter brain will, would rather see us, all it wants to do is keep us alive and safe. And Saturn might be the one who can keep us grounded and confident and sure of ourselves and see us through the challenging moments of calculated risk and the creative unknown. And Pisces is incredibly famous for living in the creative unknown, and it can drive us crazy. It's not always comfortable to be a Pisces. Saturn can help us grow. Those of us who are Pisces, or whatever part of your life is being, is in the Pisces realm, Saturn can help you gain a level of mastery and growth and confidence and sure-footedness in this realm. So, Saturn represents an initiation. An initiation is a bigger container of transformation. It is ritual and ceremonial, but it is something that might take weeks, months, or years, depending on the content of the initiation. So Saturn is like one, there's usually or very frequently more than one facilitator or mentor or elder of an initiation, but Saturn is one of the main ones who's really checking into the standards and the protocols, and might appear to be less concerned with how are the people doing and are we maintaining the rigorous journey? Are we maintaining the sacredness and the safety that says no matter what kind of, no matter what you're feeling or what's being asked of you in the moment, you are safe because the container is strong. Saturn's the one who holds that space. And so Saturn going through Pisces for the next 3 years it's going to be an initiation for all of us. And coincidental, Pluto's making his first steps into Aquarius, which is a complete shift of a generation. Not talking about that right now, but I think it's really important that, and not an accident, and we need to really embrace this and be grateful for it and make use of it, that the shift that's happening with Pluto's movement into Aquarius is facilitated for the first 3 years by Saturn in Pisces. We need that. So some things to consider while Saturn is in Pisces. Discipline. Discipline is the great tool of manifestation. It gets us what we want, whether it is mastery of a technique, a body of work, building something, raising a child, learning a spiritual practice, sitting with a teacher and learning in anything that is being modeled, that is stepping in with a mentor, but usually things of a creative or spiritual nature. So it is a good time to study universal law. Really make a deep study of how the universe works. These are spiritual laws, divine laws, universal laws, and find a resource and a teacher and a circle that is rigorous and authentic, because Saturn requires that. Time to learn a new skill, time to up your game, time to step into an initiation of your own, an intentional initiation for the phase of life you're in, or the spiritual discipline and practice that you want to step into. It's time to start looking for that. Ask for that. Ask to be shown. What is my step of initiation? It is a time to, let's see, what else do I have here? It's a time for ancestral healing. There will be, right in the middle of Nessus right now, is the other planet that has been going through Pisces for a really long time, and Nessus stands for ancestral trauma healing, particularly around sex abuse or inappropriate sexual touch or sexual crimes as an act of war. Whatever it is, it tends to, Nessus was known to be a violator of body autonomy and sovereignty. And so each of us is carrying that, and depending on where Nessus is in our own chart and our own experience, we might be working with very raw things from this lifetime upon our own bodies, or we might be carrying things that came through our ancestors that happened to them. And either way, Nessus means we heal this now. As Melanie Reinhardt says, the buck stops here. And so I think it is no accident. It is divine revelation and beauty that Saturn is landing in Pisces, landing in conjunction with Nessus, more or less at the center of Nessus's sojourn in Pisces. Because this is a spiritual quest. This healing of trauma shifts everything, and it happens in the magical and spiritual place, because you're healing your ancestors all the way back and 7 generations to come. What happens in you alchemizes, metabolizes trauma on a planetary and cosmic level. And we need Saturn to hold that space, to create that sacred container, to create the cauldron and the crucible for the healing work to happen. So these are the other aspects of Saturn. He is a cauldron. He is the big iron pot on the fire that all of the elements of the medicine go into so they can combine and change and turn into something amazing, depending on the intention and the desire of the one who is stirring the pot, which is you. And the crucible, alchemy, more focused, stronger intention, shifts that really change the planet and the universe on a molecular level. True magic and alchemy. Saturn plays the essential role of being the container, the one that transmits the heat and the energy and also protects so that only the right amount of heat that is required comes in contact with the magical stuff. So these are all ways that Saturn works, and works of necessity in Pisces. The other things, hierarchies, corporations, rules, disciplinarians, it might feel like that because we resist. None of us likes being told what to do. Some of us actually do better when we're told what to do, but we'll always come up against that point where transformation, change is required. And we say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going there. And so Saturn, here's another image for Saturn. Do you know those diving bells, like we heard bathysphere or bathyscaphe? I learned about these in elementary school. They can withstand the intense pressures of the deep ocean. And so Saturn can be like that. He can pressurize and create an environment where you can breathe and continue to live and exist while you're taking the deep dive. So that's very much what Saturn does in Pisces. That's the essence of it. There are a few other things that are happening. Saturn will connect with Neptune energy, and many of the other planets will have aspects to Saturn in Pisces. Either they'll come around to a conjunction, or there will be squares and trines, and that will have an impact and give you more information about what Saturn is doing right now. And to that end, in honor of my birthday, I'm doing a couple of things that will help you map out what Saturn in Pisces can look like. And this will be incredibly helpful because Neptune, being the ruler of Pisces, likes to put up a mist or a veil and leave you walking around in the fog, it can feel like a trackless wasteland. And so Saturn says, oh, no. Let me give you the map. There are things you can see. There are things you can feel. There are beacons that will help you navigate this fog. And so to that end, I am offering anybody who wants one a Saturn and the Dark Goddess astrology session focused on Saturn in Pisces in your chart. And we can map out some of the highlights of the next 3 years. And so you can look ahead to what's coming up. And we'll take a little time to examine the various, how it impacts your natal chart, and also what's coming around the pike that is going to be meeting up with Saturn in Pisces and where that lands for your chart. And because it's my birthday, I'm creating a special price. I'm going to be 68 years old on March 7th as Saturn steps into Pisces. So I am taking $68 off of the regular price of a single astrology session. So it's regularly $247. That means it's going to be $179. And there are certain parameters and boundaries in a good Saturn-like way. So I will be putting that out in the newsletter and on social media, and you can look into that and take advantage of that opportunity to have Saturn mapped out for you. And the other thing I'm doing that is really feels very fun is I'm going to do a group workshop on Saturn and the Dark Goddess in Pisces. And that's something I may throw it in as a bonus if you get the reading. But if you just want to do the workshop, it's going to be $68, $1 a year. And there will be, you'll show up with your chart, and I'll show you how to do that when you sign up. And we'll sit together, and I will do this mapping and look at some of the highlights of Saturn in Pisces, and then you can look at your own chart and see what's coming up for you. And I'll do little hot seat or lightning readings to help you interpret what's going on. So those are two things that I'm doing as a way of celebrating my birthday and celebrating this momentously wonderful ingress and sojourn of Saturn in the deep ocean of Pisces. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you in astrology session, the Lilith initiation. If you are a woman and you are called, be watching for details about that. If you're intrigued, ask me, and I'll get you the information very quickly. Maybe I'll put links in the comments to all this stuff below this video. So yeah, initiation, if that's the right thing for you, a solo reading, if you really want that, or the workshop, if that feels like fun. So I'll see you soon in Pisces with Saturn. Ooh, hot stuff.